sell the apartment again and get the money out. And then, so in this case, yeah, it is a little bit unflexible. But what I want to talk about is long-term flexibility. Like a property in Germany, an apartment in Germany brings you so much flexibility long-term. Why so? Because if you look at the prices, normal apartment, three-room apartment, for example, in Frankfurt, in Darmstadt, in nearly any location in Germany, will bring you something around 800 to even more in big cities like Frankfurt, but it will bring you a steady cash flow. And these high rents and like, let's say 800 euros, that's euros, and that's a very steady cash flow in a very stable currency, in a very stable market with a very low risk. So let's say you want to retire in, I don't know, in Cuba. Then 800 euros will get you somewhere. And if you have 3 or 4 apartments that you rent out in this stable market, in this low risk market in Germany, then this could finance you, your pension, your retirement on Cuba, and you can very flexible decide where you want to stay, how long you want to stay, where. And I think that is a very, very big advantage for your flexibility long term. And that comes through passive cash flow, through passive income with these real estate investments. I think the next question that we should answer is, where should I buy my next project? Because a lot of people think, okay, the biggest cities, Berlin, Düsseldorf, Frankfurt, sorry. And I do understand the thoughts, but the giant cities have a few difficulties with investing. You have very high prices. If you look at an apartment in Frankfurt, the prices are very, very high. You have higher risks when it comes to people not being able to pay their rents. We also saw that during COVID. If you have people living in a property, in an apartment that costs them 3,000 euros per month, and then they lose their job, for example, due to a crisis, due to a pandemic, then they can't pay their rent anymore. And we saw that during COVID, that a lot of clients who had real estate, who had apartments in smaller cities, still got their passive income because the people were still able to afford it. And then you have many regularities, many regulations. Yeah, I think Germany and Germans' bureaucracy, I think we all made our experience with it. But in big cities, to change something about your real estate is not that easy as you might think. And then some people think, okay, big cities, a little bit complicated. Let's go to the very rural areas. And here, I think we have the complete opposite. There is very low demand because the people are trying to get into the normal cities, bigger cities, giant cities. There is very low rents due to the low demands. And you also have low infrastructure, especially when it comes to the topic of internet. I lived in a very small village earlier in my life, and it was horrible. Like, we have better internet connection on vacation in so many other countries than we have here in small villages, rural areas. So I think there's still potential in infrastructure there. And the solution for our question, where to choose the place to buy my property, in my opinion, definitely is, normal big cities. They combine all the positive aspects. And I want to show you an example. I want to show you like a project that we are like that we have right now. It is in Bad Kreuznach. No worries, you don't have to know Bad Kreuznach, but it is in Rhine-Main region. It is close to Wiesbaden, Mainz, Ingelheim, Frankfurt, and it is somewhere around 50,000 residents. So it's how do you call it? A normal sized city. You have everything to live, like you need to live there. And a lot of people like to live there because they can then, it's not long to go for them to their work in Frankfurt, for example, or to Mainz, to Wiesbaden. They do have big companies in Bad Kreuznach, like Michelin or Schneider Optik. So it's a developing city. It is close to giant cities that hold a lot of big and an apartment here is affordable. So you can start investing in Bad Kreuznach with a required equity of 19,000 euros. And that's a pretty good start. And for that, you can then finance an apartment between 268 to 365,000 euros. So here we see the leverage again. You bring 20,000 euros of equity and you can work with 250 to 350,000 euros of capital of value that works for you. These apartments, around 50 to 70 square meters sized, have very, very high standards. And they have a photovoltaic system, which leads us to a very good loan because we can use KfW. That's a certain bank that works with the government, and they support you if you're investing into real estate that is sustainable, that uses sustainable energy, and so on. And I think this, for example, this project is very, very profitable and it combines all the topics that we talked about before, because it's a medium big city. It is very close to other big cities. We have a very high standard, very high quality apartment complex, and more details we will see right now. Now, I'm always talking about a certain amount of equity that you have to bring. What is that? Why is that? Can't I start with just monthly payoffs? This required equity that you have to bring splits up in a few cost topics. And the first one, we are in Germany, and depending on the state that you're living in, you have to pay 3.5 to 6.5% of tax, just acquisition tax. And 3.5 to 6.5% sounds a lot, and it is a lot. And that is, for example, something that you have to bring. And then also you have notary cost. You have to hire a notary to sign all the documents with you and do all the bureaucracy in the background for you. This will be around 1.5% of the real estate value. And then in a lot of cases, you have agency fees. Agency fees, depending somewhere between 2 to 4%, depending on what real estate agent you're using. And now 1.5 to 3.5%, it doesn't really sound that much. But if we look at a very normally priced apartment, that could be around 300,000 euros. And then you see that, of course, 10,000 to 19,500 euros of tax, that's a lot. Notary cost of 4,500 euros, that is okay. But then agency fees, if you're working with the wrong agent, real estate agent, could cost you also 12,000 euros. And that is a lot. So it sums up to 21,000 to 36,000 euros of capital that you would have to bring. Now, I wrote by yourself. If you do it by yourself, if you're working with a real estate agent that you might know or find for yourself, at this point, I wanna show how I do it, because if you do it with us, Of course, you will always have to pay the tax. We can't just save you the tax. We can't pay the notary cost for you or something like that, but we don't take agency fees. And so you have the opportunity to start earlier with less capital, 15,000 to 24,000 euros, something around that, to start investing into an apartment that is valued at 300,000 euros. And here again, we have such a big difference in the money that you bring in and the money that you're then working with. Yes, and if we continue thinking about this example, and if we continue calculating this example, we can look at this. It is, for example, an apartment from this Bad Kreuznach project, 310,000 euros of value, and the client brought 21,800 euros. And now on the income side, we have the rent, which is in this case 856 euros, and we have tax. Why tax? I think tax is one of the most underrated topics when it comes to real estate investment, because the government says, okay, you're gaining income through the rent and you have to pay tax on that income. So it would only be fair if you could write off your real estate investment and have a tax benefit from it. I know it's a little complicated, but it means that basically you would have a tax benefit of 633 euros monthly. Of course, it comes with your tax declaration, but this is such a big benefit, and it only is if you rent it out. Because if you live in it yourself, then you don't generate rent, so you don't pay tax on those on that rent, on that income, and you can't write it off. But if you rent it out, then you can write it off. And in this case, the tax is a very, very big part of this calculation and of your income. On the other hand side, of course, we have to pay off the interest, or we have to pay the interest to pay off our mortgage. We have to do some amortization, and then management and reserve. I will explain that a little bit later, but of course, interest rates, they are still a little bit high, but they are, I should correct that, they are very normal right now, because we had a very, very, very low interest rate over the last decade. And now it went up to a very normal level again, but it's, went up to 4.5%. Some people financed for 6%, and now we are back at somewhere around 4%. If we can use something like KfW, then we can even bring it down a little bit. Amortization, of course, you want to pay off that property at a certain level. Some people prefer to pay it off quicker. Some people prefer to pay it off slower. But we can talk about that in face-to-face meetings. And then the last topic is management and reserve. And why is that so important? Because you need a reserve. If there is something that you have to fix for your apartments, then you need a reserve. You don't want to pay those unpredictable costs all by yourself. You want to have a reserve. And management means that you don't get a second hobby or another hobby with buying a property, buying an apartment, because some people invest into an apartment in another city, and then there's a light bulb broken in any hallway, and then they have to travel there, fix the light bulb, or pay someone to go there and fix it. And we want you to have an investment and not another job with your investment. So there is always a management involved. This management fixes all the issues that might come up with the property, with the tenants. Also they create a like a rent pool. So if there would be the case that one of your tenants moves out and your apartment is empty for a month or 2 or 3, then you would still get that rent from the rent pool. And that's for you to be able to calculate, to have a good plan, and for the investment to work. All right, if we sum them up, then we have a total income of 1,489 euros on one side, and we have expenses of 1,462 euros. Of course, that first looks like a cash flow of 27 euros, but please think or remember that the tax advantage, the tax payments, the writing off the property comes once a year with your tax declaration. So like a real positive cash flow is very unlikely, but you can see there even is a positive cash flow at the very beginning, and then every month that you pay amortization, the loan gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, and every month your income rises, and then after a certain amount of time, the property is paid off and you just have the passive income. All right, and last tax topic. I know tax is not the favorite topic of most people, but if we look at properties or if we look at real estate, we have to look at tax, because real estate investment is one of the only investment choices you can do that is completely tax-free after a certain amount. All the profits that you make with your real estate, your apartments, your house, will be completely tax-free. And here there is a little difference between if you're living in it yourself, then it's after 3 years you could sell it completely tax-free. And if you're renting it out, then it takes 10 years to be tax-free. So for example, what a lot of my clients do is they finance like an apartment for good conditions, they finance it, and after 10 years, they sell it, and then from the profit they made, they start investing again into real estate or into a bigger project, and then they have like the money they put in, they have tax-free profit over 10 years. They had rent during that time. They generated a passive income. And so they can then start investing into 2 properties from that profit they made. A lot of people also prefer to keep their real estate investments and build up passive cash flow and buy more and more and more, and then you don't have to worry about retiring. You don't have to worry about not even if you get a pension from which country or where you live in, but if you have a very, very good and stable real estate portfolio, then that helps a lot with any financial dreams and plans that you might have. So remember, real estate investment is tax-free after a certain point. Yes. All right. A few more slides, and then I will answer the questions in the chat, and we can have a little talk. I think quality is also a very, 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 very important topic, because you don't want your property, your real estate to look like this. You want it to look like this. And what we do is to really, we test, we control, we overview the whole, like the banks who are financing you. We are overviewing the people who are building the real estate. We are overviewing the whole management that is around it. So we really, really, really take good care of that, because we want to guarantee that you won't ever have like quality issues with the real estate, with the property that you invest your money in. All right. And then when can I start investing? That's like one of the most asked questions. For that, we need to think like the bank thinks. Because of course, between you and your real estate investment, there only is the bank, because they have to give you a loan, and the only thing they are thinking of is, will we get our money back? They're very egoistic. That's their business. They have to really analyze and evaluate the risk of giving out credits. But if we want to get the best conditions to make our real estate investment most profitable, then we should prepare our strategy to get the best conditions with our loan, with our mortgage. And this loan doesn't include the topics that we talked about earlier. So only the value of the property of your apartment that you want to buy will be financed, and also no cost like tax. No cost like tax or notary cost or agency fees. All of those costs, they won't finance you, because if you won't be able to pay back the money, then they could only sell the property. But if they also financed 20,000 euros more than the value of the property, that's not a good business for them, and that's why they will only finance these these amounts. And also, most banks really like it if you already bring 5%, 10%, 20% of the financing up front, because then they see, okay, you are well put together, you have capital, and you are ready to pay the money back. And then what is considered in loan risk? What do the banks think of before they give out mortgages, before they give out loans? Of course, they look at your income. What is your income? They look at your reserve, because it shouldn't be used completely for financing the property. Have you assured that you will always have that income? And that's a very, very important topic, because a lot of people think that the government will make sure that I will have income, or my employer will make sure that I will have income. But we will look at that a little bit closer later. And also, what happens if we finance until pension? These are the topics that the bank thinks about, and I want to talk about them a little closer. Income, of course, this is like a very obvious topic. A lot of people ask me, what do you mean by that? But of course, your income has to be higher than your monthly spendings, and it also has to be not only a little bit higher, like 100 euros spare, but you saw, of course, there was a 27 euro positive cash flow in the example that we just went through. But the tax benefits of 633 euros monthly, they only come once a year with your tax declaration. So you would have to bring up something around 600 euros every month up front. And then, of course, with your tax declaration once a year, you will get a big amount of money, something around 7,200 euros to 7,500 euros. From our example, you will get that back, and that brings the positive cash flow. But you have to have some budget monthly to really be able to pay off that property, to finance that property. Reserve. I think reserve is also a very important topic, because if we need to bring something around 20,000 euros and your reserve right now is 21,000 euros, then this is there is a risk coming with our investment, because as I said, real estate investment brings you a lot of flexibility long term, but short term, it takes out a lot of flexibility. So we need to have a healthy reserve before we start, or before we take all of our reserve and put it into a real estate investment. If you would do that, and then in the next month there is a financial emergency and you would have to pay something for, let's say, 2,500 euros, then there is a big problem, and then we have to Yeah, I prefer to have a bigger reserve and maybe wait 3 months longer to build some more equity and then have a very stable and sustainable investment strategy. Yes. Income protection. This is something the banks really like to see because they not only see that you really thought of many topics and that you're well put together, but they know that if you lose your job in Germany because of medical reasons, because of health reasons, then there is no safety, there's no security. Because of course, the first 6 weeks, your employer pays your income, then at least the first 6 months, your health insurance will pay 75% of your income. And then it only goes south because the government should take over. They don't really do, and they only pay something between 24 to 48% of your pre-tax income. And the banks know that if something happens, you won't be able to pay them back to finance the real estate investment to the end. And so they want to see if you have some protection, any protection for your income to really, yeah, see that you want to pay back or finance it through. And for you, for your financial planning, it's very important because if you lose your income, it's the worst case to right now be financing because you have so high spendings monthly just for financing your real estate investment, and then you have your normal monthly spending. So if we talk about this topic, then we really have to talk about income protection. And that's also what the banks know. And pension planning is something that a lot of people underestimate about this. The banks don't, and they know if this financing, if the loan, if the mortgage, if the paying off procedure is going until pension, then a lot of people won't be able to pay them back. Because I brought you an example. One of my clients, he had a good job. He had a very good income. If we look at this, like 5,673 euros of post-tax income, that is very good. But if we then look at the pension that he's now getting, 2,600 euros of pre-tax pension is not enough to pay off his fixed costs, his living standards, his living spendings. So if he would be financing real estate right now, like luckily he did some private pension planning, he's all good. But the banks know that the difference between your income before pension and the pension income you will then have is so big that they want to see that you have prepared yourself, you are preparing yourself for pension. If the financing goes until then, that you would still be able to pay them back. Yes. And I know it's a lot, these were a lot of topics. I hope I didn't lose anyone going through all of these topics. I know it's a lot of bureaucracy, it's a lot of tax, and a lot of my clients then think, of course, I won't be able to find a good agency and a good notar, and how do I have to pay tax? How do I get the tax back? How do I find the right investment opportunity for me? How do I use this and that? And I want to help you and guide you through that German bureaucracy. I want to help you build a good strategy before investing into real estate. And if your plan is for like in 5 years to invest into your own apartment, then you should start now and you should have a few things covered now and a good strategy to build equity for your plan, for your goal to then be like easily accessible and be sustainable, a sustainable investment. And that's why I want to help you. I want to show you how I usually work. We have advisory appointments, and these are completely free of charge. So that is something I can't say enough. A lot of people, end of the advisory, they then try to give me money, but this advisory is free of charge. First meeting is like a get to know meeting because I have to get to know your financial situation, your goals, your dreams, to then tailor a master plan, a strategy, a concept that I will then present to you in a second appointment. In the third appointment, we will then have the execution. We will get everything started because Germany, German, sheets, German papers, German bureaucracy. So I will guide you through that. And then, of course, over the next years, for example, if we start investing now, if we start building your strategy now, then we definitely have to have more meetings in the future to then reach your financial goals. And every year or every 6 months, I will have service appointments with you to then keep you updated with new opportunities, new investment opportunities. And yeah, with that service, a lot of people are very happy, recommend me, and then I get to know more people and can guide more people through this financial jungle in Germany. So I want to invite you to now take like 1 minute. I will leave it open like this. I will also send the link, the Calendly link into the Zoom chat right now. Maybe GK, you can put that on Twitter too. All right. So I want to invite you to take a minute now to book yourself an appointment, and we can then have a face-to-face, one-on-one meeting to talk about these topics, because I think it's very difficult to really answer your questions right now if there's a room with a lot of people on Zoom and there's people on Twitter and people on Facebook. They can't even ask their questions right now. So take your time, book an appointment, and then we can have a meeting face to face and talk about your personal dreams and goals with finance, with investment, with flexibility and freedom that you would like to have now or in the future. Yes. All right. If anyone needs the link or any information, any answers later on, feel free to contact me, and then we can talk about those too. So today I wanted to bring you some information on real estate investment, how to choose your investment, how to better find the most profitable ways, how it could look to invest into real estate, how it is if you rent it out or if you live in it yourself, and what the plan around it should be or should look like. And I think, or I hope that I was able to answer a few questions. I hope that I was able to bring some light in this, into this topic. And I'm looking very much forward to have very, very interesting meetings with you in the future. If anyone has questions, feel free to ask them, and I will try my best to answer them for you now or later.
Can I go ahead and ask?
Yes, of course, please.
All right, thank you. I joined a little bit quite late, so I'm not quite sure if you probably did justice to the question I'm about to ask. But let's say some difficulty comes up during the process of like acquiring the housing, and probably you've been paying for 10 years. Is it possible to sell?
So if you have invested 10 years ago, right? Is that the question?
Yeah, if you have invested 10 years ago and now you can continue investing, is it possible to sell?
Yes, of course. So maybe that it was before you joining, but if you live in it yourself, then you have complete if there's no tax you have to pay on profits after 3 years of investing. And if you rent it out, then you have to pay no tax on any profits after 10 years of investing. So let's say, I think if I heard your question right, it also was about if I am not able to continue financing, or if I want to leave the country, for example, that could be reasons or situations where you would like to use the money otherwise. So then, for example, after 10 years, you paid off a lot from the property. You got a lot of rent every month from the property. So there's a positive cash flow over those 10 years. You now have profit with this real estate, and you can sell it completely free of tax on the profit that you made. Yes.
All right, thank you.
No worries. Any other questions?
For a young person, what's like the minimum amount to start with, for example?
I think for a lot of young people have the goal or have the dream to invest into real estate, and I do understand that. But I think if you are, I don't know, it should be a one-on-one talk here soon, because I don't know how old you are, what your income is, what equity you have. It really depends on those surroundings or those facts. And if, of course, if you are 24, you have 5,000 euros of post-tax income and you're bringing 20,000 euros of equity, then let's start investing into real estate. If you're 25 and you have like 3,000 euros of income and you have 10,000 euros of reserve, not of equity, but of reserve, then we should now build a strategy for you to be able to invest into your own apartment or a rented out apartment in 3 and 4 years, to really plan it and not only wish for it or dream for it, but to really have a plan. Okay, we put this much, like we put aside 300 euros a month, 500 euros a month for the equity that we need. We build a whole strategy around it with all the topics that the bank would like to see. So we have like an income protection and a pension plan. And then we know by calculating it that in 3.5 years, you will have enough equity to then start investing into real estate. So I think it is very important, if there is an idea, if there is a dream, if there is a goal of investing into real estate, to then really have a plan. And I want to help you with that plan, because you have to consider a lot of things, and it is not very easy to really find the best way, and to just find the best financing, to find the best loan is science on its own. So with all of these topics, I would like to help you, and I'm looking forward to meet you again soon, again via Zoom, but then in a one-on-one situation.
Yeah, thank you so much for the organizers, and thank you, Noah, as well. I would definitely reach out to you by email or set up a meeting by Calendly. Thank you again.
All right, no worries. Happy to talk to you. All right. If there is other questions on Facebook, on X or Twitter, feel free to reach out to me. As I said, there is no charges coming for asking or for having a meeting to build this strategy, to build your tailored master plan for your goals. So feel free to contact me. And once again, thank you to GK for organizing all of this. I wish you all a very, very nice evening, a good start for your next week, and looking forward to talk to many people in the future.